Hey guys, welcome to Mad Scientist Barbecue. I'm Jeremy Yoder, and today we're going to be making some briskets, or biscuits. So what we're going to do today is try to get the temperature as even as possible from one side of the cooker to the other. And to that end, I got some tuning plates for my Brazos from Old Country Barbecue Pits, and I'll be using that today to try and even out the temperature. And the idea is to manage the airflow so that one side of the cooker receives the same amount of heat as the other side of the cooker. And we'll show you as we put these plates in. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to use temperature probes, one on each side of the cooker, to see what the temperature differential is. So if this one is 60 degrees hotter than that side, we know we need to do some adjusting. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to put biscuits all across the grates to see how evenly the cooker is distributing heat. And so ideally what would happen is all the biscuits cook at exactly the same rate. What might happen, however, is the ones closer to the firebox cook more quickly, and the ones closer to the exhaust will cook more slowly. So what I'm going to do is going to do that twice. Once with no tuning plates in it at all, and see how evenly it cooks. Then put in the tuning plates, and when I think that the temperature is as even as possible, according to my temperature probes, which we'll talk about in a minute, but when the temperature is as even as possible, then I'm going to put the biscuits back on and see how evenly it cooks and see what kind of improvement we've made in terms of evenness of cooking. So we're just going to start off by lighting these charcoals to get our fire going, and then we can worry about adjusting the temperature from side to side. So we'll get these lit. And what I'm using to light the charcoals today, again, are these tumbleweed fire starters. This way I don't have to worry about getting a bunch of paper and crumpling it up underneath the chimney, or I don't have to try to use lighter fluid or something like that. I actually really like these and I highly recommend them. I got them at Ralph's, and if you're in another part of the country, it might be Kroger there, but I recommend them. They're super convenient and they get it lit really well. Alright, our charcoals are lit now, so I'm just going to pour them out into the firebox here, and it's pretty toasty even at the handle, so I'm going to use this towel. Now we're ready for the wood. I got a big chunk of oak here I'm going to put on the fire and let this get going, and then we'll start monitoring our temperature. Alright, now that we got our fire burning, we've got the cooker up to temperature. So the analog thermometer here is sitting just a little under 300, and the digital thermometer, 295 on the firebox end, 293 on the exhaust end. Now 289. Pretty darn close. That's why I haven't been using tuning plates, because the temperature differential isn't huge. So just let me show you what I've got going on inside the smoker here. Alright, so I have one probe right here next to the firebox. I got another probe in just a chunk of sweet potato because I don't have another one of those clips, but over here next to the exhaust. And the temperature was really close. And that's because of how I'm running the cooker. Let's walk through that a little bit. I have this exhaust wide open, and I had a temperature differential of less than 10 degrees. Now, if I close this down to say halfway, that temperature differential jumps to about 30 degrees. If I close this down to where it's only a quarter open, that temperature differential jumps to 60, 70, or even 80 degrees. So it's huge. And if that's how you're running your cooker, then you probably need some tuning plates to adjust that huge difference, because you don't want one end of your meat to get burned and the other one to be undercooked. So the way I usually run the cooker is to have both vents wide open, and I control the temperature simply by managing the amount of fuel that I put in. I don't want to choke off the intake, because then I will burn a kind of fire I don't want to burn, which is one that's deprived of oxygen, where you produce a lot of white smoke and it produces flavors you don't want in your meat. I also don't close this down, not just for the temperature differential, but because I'm concerned with convection in the cooker. And convection in the cooker is the air that gets drawn through. So I want maximum airflow, because the greater the airflow, the faster your food will cook. All right, and so what we're going to do to test out how evenly the smoker cooks is we're going to put these biscuits on, and we're going to let them go until they're done, and we're just going to see just kind of a visual representation of how evenly it cooks. So the temperature probe told us we're pretty close to even, but I want to see in terms of the convection and not only just the temperature, but the total amount of heat that's reaching all areas of the cooking grate. So we'll throw on those biscuits and we'll show you that. All right, let's see if I can figure out how to open this thing. Figure it out so we can make these biscuits just like Mama made them. Okay. Press spoon at seam until can pops open. Well, I don't have a spoon. Woo! Like I'm opening some champagne or something right there. All right, got these biscuits. Okay, put these guys on the cooker. Okay. One biscuit for you. One biscuit right here. That guy right there. I'm gonna open another can. Happy New Year! Ugh. Whew. Fire's getting a little bit low, so I'm gonna add another piece of wood onto my fire. Whew. Alright, it's been a few minutes, so I just opened the lid here and I'm going to take a look at these biscuits. One thing that I think is curious, these right here aren't all that cooked. They're still pretty raw. Still pretty raw. These are the most done actually, right here. Probably these two, and then these are almost as done, and then these are about like the ones at the other end. So apparently the hottest part of the whole smoker is right in the center. So we're going to close this up and let them finish cooking, and we'll just see how evenly they cook. Alright, so it's been a few minutes, and we're going to take a look at how evenly or unevenly these biscuits cooked. Now, what I found is these are still pretty doughy, it seems. These, a little doughy, not as doughy. These, pretty cooked, pretty cooked, pretty cooked. Most cooked, most cooked. Almost as cooked, a little doughy still. And these are pretty doughy. Okay, so what that tells me is pretty warm, right? Hottest part of the whole cooker right here, and then we have a cool part just before it leaves at the exhaust. And just to kind of test that out, I'm gonna open up a couple of these biscuits. This one from right next to the firebox. It looks like it's cooked through, but if you grab it, you know, it's still pretty doughy there, not cooked a ton. So if we take one from the middle here, crack this guy open, this one is definitely cooked all the way through, not doughy at all. And then right here to where it exits at the exhaust, open this one up, and this one is super doughy. Like, I mean, I can just still squish it into a ball. It's completely dough. Not very cooked at all. So while in the past I thought, well, I have a pretty even distribution of heat from one end to the other, that is pretty true, but what I didn't know is all the spots around the cooker and the temperature or the rate at which things cook there. So the reason my temperature probes were giving me such similar readings is because these biscuits here had a similar doneness to these right here at the other end of the cooker. But what I didn't know is kind of cool, hottest part of the cooker, coolest part of the cooker just before the exhaust. And that's the purpose of doing this low-tech experiment. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to throw in some of those tuning plates and do this experiment over again and see if we can get a more even cook on all the biscuits. All right, it's time to install our tuning plates. So I'm going to pull them out of the package here. All right. Big chunks of metal. All right. And yes, before anybody comments, I know that I need to clean out this smoker, but you work with what you got. So what I'm going to do is put the first plate about here, because I don't mind a little extra heat on this side because it's not very warm there. And then what I'll probably do is get little vents across the grate. Okay, we can adjust these as needed. This is how I've arranged the tuning plates right here. So I have smaller gaps between the plates closest to the firebox and then larger gaps further away, because I want a little bit of heat and smoke to escape here and a little more here to kind of even out the natural kind of imbalance of heat that we get from an offset smoker. So this is going to be just the first attempt, and I'll probably put the temperature probes in there and kind of move them around and just see if I get a good idea about how even it is. And then we'll throw on the biscuits and see how evenly they cook. Alright, so these guys just completely popped open on their own because I took them out of the fridge and took the paper off the outside and let them sit here for a few minutes, and then just out of nowhere, and that's because as molecules get hotter, that means they move more quickly. So temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles of a substance. So what it means for you is hotter things expand. So as this heats up, it expands, pushes harder against this, I guess it's cardboard or something, against this paper of the container, and eventually the pressure is great enough that it pops it out without anybody having to use a spoon to do it. Okay, so what I did is let those tuning plates kind of reach equilibrium, you know, with the air passing around them. And what I did is I moved the thermometer, the temperature probe rather, in the smoker around to where the hot spot was, and then when it was really cool over here by the exhaust, and I got them as even as I think I can. So we're gonna try some more biscuits. Let's open this guy up. We're gonna place some biscuits inside, and hopefully we eliminated that hot spot. But the only way to find out is to throw some biscuits on here. And I don't think we have to use 2 cans. I think 1 can is probably enough. All right, we'll close it up and let them cook. I don't know if you guys out there know, but I can eat a whole smoked brisket in one bite. Did I say brisket? I meant biscuit. All right, these have been on here for a couple minutes now, and I'm just trying to see how evenly they're cooking. Okay. Actually, it seems to be pretty even to this point, but pretty smoky. Got some wet wood in there, but looks pretty even. So we're gonna let these finish up, and then we'll get a better sense of how evenly everything's cooking. All right, it's time for our conclusion here. Now with these tuning plates in, I don't know if you can see very well, but these biscuits have all cooked fairly evenly. There's not a big difference between any of them really, except maybe this one might be a little more done, it looks like, but when you feel it, it feels the same as these. And so I think we've successfully eliminated our hot spot in the center of our cooker here. And we've got even cooking across the grate, side to side, front to back. So that's really exactly what the tuning plates are designed to do. Now, the question is, am I going to use them frequently in the future? I'm not 100% sure. Because while it is true that I got more even cooking with the tuning plates in, I also noticed that it was harder to get a higher temperature with the tuning plates in. That's just something I'm going to have to experiment with more in the future, doing actual cooks with the tuning plates in. So what I'm likely to do is do a long cook, like a brisket or something with the tuning plate, so I get a really good sense of how the cooker works with the tuning plates in. Now I'm confident that the temperature's evened out, and I just need to be confident that I'm able to cook successfully with them, to burn an efficient fire, to get lots of air drafting through the smoker, to get lots of convection, and ultimately a great cook and a great product at the end of it. Thank you for watching Mad Scientist Barbecue. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, because if you don't subscribe, you're not going to be able to see all the cool videos, alright? If you're not subscribed, you're going to miss them all, and that's no good at all, alright? So please subscribe below, and you'll be tuned in for all the new videos that are coming out.